Hello guys! Last Friday, Larian Studios livestreamed their Panel from Hell release showcase where they revealed a ton more information about the game. Customization options, the new origin character, romance, gameplay and lots more. As always, Larian did a great job. Me and Lambo watched the panel together and we had an absolute blast. Despite some technical difficulties, they managed to show off quite a bit of new stuff. They did go into some pretty big spoilers, especially towards the end of the panel, but don't worry. For this video, I'm going to keep the spoilers to a minimum and I'll only play footage that doesn't reveal too much. Alright, let's jump right in. Sven started off with the announcement that the PC version will be releasing 4 weeks earlier than the original release date, something that they recently announced in their latest community update as well. Now, originally, if you own the early access version, you'd be getting access to the first act of the full version 72 hours early. But from what Sven said at the Panel from Hell, it seems like the 72 hours of early access might not be happening anymore, at least not for PC. He said instead of getting it 3 days early, now we're getting the full game on August 3rd. There's been some conflicting information about this though, which caused some confusion among the community. So as of right now, I can't say for certain if we're still getting the 72 hours early access for PC, though Larian have said they'll clear this up in the next community update, so we'll know soon enough. The first big thing that they showed off was the new character creator. In a video that they played, it was said that the choices we make in character creation will have an impact on the story later. The class system for release is incredibly deep as they try to include as much content from the player's handbook as possible. With over 600 spells and actions, there will be plenty of options for us. Classes won't only affect combat, but will also affect dialogue. Warlocks will be able to call in their patron, and druids and other classes with the Speak to Animal spell will be able to speak to every animal. They've also made sure that there is lots of reactivity in the world related to our class and race. Basically, the class you pick will very much affect how you experience the game. They've also completely revamped the character creator, as they wanted it to be more approachable to people who aren't familiar with D&D. As you can see, it looks completely different from how it looked in early access. They've added some nice looking icons for races and classes and little preview icons of customization options so you can actually see what you're customizing. Each class also has its own cool little animation when selected. They've added more voice and face options, scar options, body types, a heterochromia option for eye color, more makeup choices, piercings, hairstyle and facial hair options, more skin related sliders and even a genital option. The maturity slider will make your character look older, the freckle option includes a quantity and intensity slider, and we have a vitiligo pigmentation option. For tieflings, you can now not only choose from different sets of horns, but you can also choose your horn color as well as horn tip color. The Dragonborn also have a ton of really cool customization options. They have 4 faces. They have a few crest, chin and jaw options and a lot of skin color options from regular colors to metallic ones. The Draconic Sorcerer Dragonborn get a really cool skin pattern based on their Draconic ancestry. During the panel, Larian also confirmed that you'll be able to respec your class during your playthrough when you meet a certain NPC. This gives you the freedom to really experiment with your class and subclasses and try out things without having to start all over if you make a mistake. Related to character creation is of course the option of playing as an origin character, and there's something really cool that they revealed, apart from the new origin character of course, but I'll talk about them in a second. When you play as a custom character, you'll be able to meet and recruit the other origin characters as companions. All the origin characters have their own secrets that they'll eventually reveal to you. If you play as an origin character, say you play as Shadowheart, you'll of course already know that you're a cleric of Shar, and you have the option of revealing that to the rest of your party members when you want to, and their reaction will depend on how much they like or dislike you. You'll also get different dialogue options and cutscenes depending on what origin character you're playing as, like memories or dreams about your past. On the Panel from Hell, they actually showed a really interesting Astarion cutscene, but I'm trying to keep spoilers to a minimum, so I won't talk about that in this video. The next thing they showed us was something that a lot of us were very excited for. The new origin character. So the new origin character is called the Dark Urge, and what's so special about the Dark Urge is that they are a fully customizable character, but they do come with a backstory. I feel like they are kind of the middle ground between a custom character and an origin character. As for what their backstory is, we don't actually know yet. All we know is that the Dark Urge has a constant urge to hurt and kill, hence the name. If we choose to play as them, we'll constantly have to deal with these urges, and of course we are completely free to choose whether we want to resist or give in to them. And from what Larian has showed us, we can do some pretty messed up things. And that doesn't only count for the Dark Urge, by the way. Things can get pretty dark, and I'm not going to show any of the footage here, but the game really doesn't pull any punches, trust me. They also talked about Wyll and Karlach for a bit. So Karlach was born and raised in Baldur's Gate before she got sold into slavery to the Hells. She manages to escape eventually, but now she's got an infernal engine where her heart used to be, and it's been getting hotter ever since she's left the Hells. She is very angry about what happened to her, and now that she is free, she wants to live the life that was taken from her. But she is generally a good character, and wants to leave a good impact on the world. She also has a special rage ability where she bursts into flames, and apparently she curses a lot. As for Wyll, he's been reworked quite a bit. During the panel, Larian mentioned that they've changed his story a lot and have rewritten pretty much all of his dialogue. Apparently, Wyll's story is pretty complicated, and he can go down different paths pretty early on in the game. He has a pre-existing relationship with the city of Baldur's Gate and with one of the other origin characters. And this is going to be a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear, you can mute the video for a few seconds, and I'll put some text on screen when the spoilers are over. So, Wyll has a pre-existing relationship with one of the other origin characters, this character being Karlach. The relationship isn't a good one though, as he wants to kill Karlach pretty early on in the game. However, the devs did mention that you can choose to not kill Karlach with Wyll in the party, and in that case, Wyll's story will take a different turn from when you do choose to kill Karlach, and they can actually become pretty good friends. The next cool thing they revealed is that our characters will wear casual clothing when in camp, since, well, armor would be quite uncomfortable to sleep in. Each origin character comes with their own unique set of camp clothes, but we will also be able to buy more sets or find more of them in the world. We will be able to dye them and choose to wear them outside of camp as well, so that's another great bit of customization there. Cloaks will also be available. They weren't a thing in early access, but Larian confirmed that they'll be there in full release. Another big topic of the panel was romance. So Larian told us that they've made sure the romances in Baldur's Gate 3 will develop naturally and feel authentic. It's not going to be as simple as just doing their quest, picking the nice dialogue options, and boom, we get a romance scene. Instead, they've been trying to show two people going through a hard time and supporting each other. Characters will change throughout the game, and their relationships will develop as we play through the story. If we are an asshole to one of our party members, we can expect the same in return, and if we piss them off too much, they might actually leave or even try to kill us. But if we're nice to them, we'll have the opportunity to bond with them, and they'll open up to us. However, we don't always have to agree with them. Larian have told us that we will have the ability to argue with a romance companion and question their way of thinking without ending the relationship. As a matter of fact, always going along with what they want might even end badly for us. Or we might end up getting married, apparently. Some other romance-related things they revealed in the panel is that most companion characters don't just have one path through the romance. They have multiple versions of the romance, or can even break off a romance. Some will happily be in a poly-romance, and others won't. Romances might have different endings depending on the choices we make in the game, and the more our companion trusts us, the more chance we have at romancing them. And sometimes they'll even be the ones to initiate it. What's really interesting is that, from what Larian talked about during the panel, we'll really be able to nudge companions in a certain direction when it comes to being good or evil. When Sven asked if we can be evil in a romance, the reply was, "You'll be surprised what you can get away with. Sometimes it's the roll of a dice. The things that you can persuade people to do is incredible. You have characters in the game that when you first meet them, you think they're sweet and nice, and there's no way in hell they'll follow me into the darkness. And if you play your cards right, they will follow you into the darkness, and they will do terrible things in the darkness." So it seems with enough approval and maybe a few successful persuasion rolls, you'll be able to keep your companions around even if you're going down a path that they might not necessarily seem to agree with in the start of the game. I'm assuming the opposite is true as well. If good-leaning companions will follow you into the darkness if you play your cards right, evil-leaning companions might have a change of heart and follow you down the path of righteousness. The next part of the panel was focused on combat, and the developers talked in depth about their design philosophy when it comes to combat. They told us that they don't just place a bunch of enemies on the map and see what happens. They've really thought about every single encounter in the game, and designed it like a puzzle for the player to solve with the tools that they have in their party. They brought up the 3 difficulty modes that the game will have on full release, and we'll be able to switch difficulty modes mid-playthrough if we wish to do so. Balanced is the default difficulty mode, and it's what we've been playing in the early access. Basically, the combat is challenging enough, but not incredibly difficult. Explorer mode is for anyone that just wants to experience the story and focus less on the combat aspect of the game. Tactician mode is basically hard mode, but rather than just buff enemies by giving them more HP, they've added a lot more elements to the puzzle. An extra goblin on the roof that you'll have to deal with, explosive barrels in the environment, or a bugbear throwing grenades at you. And of course, smarter AI. Enemies in Tactician mode are more likely to target the more squishy characters and might even go for characters that are using concentration spells. So if we play Tactician mode, we'll have to make sure to position ourselves well and protect our more squishy characters. The devs also showed off some monk gameplay on both default and Tactician mode, with the latter half of the Tactician mode combat being played with controllers on split screen. During the panel, they also talked about cinematics and the scope of the game. They showed off some locations, characters and creatures we'll encounter, and they talked about the incredible depth and breadth of the game with tons of possibilities and replayability. The lighting in cutscenes will react to what a character is feeling, and the music will reflect the changes in the world, which can be a result of the choices we make throughout the story. Larian wanted this game to be a cinematic experience, and made sure the player feels immersed into the story as much as possible. They said no compromise, and they clearly took that very seriously. The last part of the stream went into some pretty big spoilers, but don't worry, I won't talk about those in this video. All I'll say is that they played through a part of Act 2 and they showed us a scene from two different perspectives, one being good and the other being evil. Both getting to the same point in the game, but getting completely different scenes because of the choices they made. Before I end this video and give my own thoughts, here's some small but still cool things that they mentioned in the panel, but I didn't really know where to fit them, so here you go. We'll be able to rent a room in the Elfsong Tavern. We'll be able to break into the printing house of the Gazette and alter the stories, and the game will have a modesty filter. Alright, I think I've covered most of the important things that they showed us and talked about on the panel from Hell. Once again, I really enjoyed watching the panel, really happy with what they showed us, and they even went into some spoilers, and I'm actually a little surprised about how much they showed us, but to be honest, Larian have said themselves that there is so much to see and do in the game, and we've only seen a tiny bit here. I'm honestly pretty amazed by the scope of the game and their attention to detail, especially after what I've seen in the latest panel. It seems like they've really thought about everything. Sven's even mentioned that he really wants people to just try and not reload the game as much. Just go with it whatever happens. Even if you fail a dice roll, they've made sure to still give you an interesting outcome and it's not just you failed, game over. Of course, we've not yet played the final product and we'll have to wait and see if it truly lives up to our expectations, and I will. While I'm excited, I am aware the full game might have its problems. You can't deny, however, that Larian are incredibly passionate about their games and do their best to make sure they create something that they can be proud of. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If the full game is as good as Larian says it will be, and is as good as what we've seen in the early access, I genuinely think Baldur's Gate 3 will set a new standard for CRPGs, if not RPGs in general. I really hope this game will go on to be very successful, and will prove to the rest of the gaming industry that games don't have to have microtransactions, they don't have to be a live service, they don't have to have battle passes in order to be successful. They just have to be good. And that's all I have to say about the latest Baldur's Gate 3 update. I hope I didn't miss anything, and as always, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, let me know by liking this video. Or leave a comment and let me know what you're most excited for in Baldur's Gate 3. What class are you gonna play first? Are you gonna play a custom character or an origin character? Or will you be trying out the Dark Urge first? If you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon. Or join me on my Discord server where you can talk about anything Dragon Age, Mass Effect and of course Baldur's Gate 3. That's it for now though, thanks again for watching and I hope to see you on the next one.